Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order, July 28th, 2015, Littleton Board of Health. First item on the agenda is administrative matters. Board member reports.
I
Ann?
have nothing.
We met with the fire department, the police department for one of our medical reserve corps meetings and made some plans for the rest of the summer. And I'm following up from our meet and greet that we had in June. Nothing new to report.
Okay. Bill, you said nothing. John?
Nothing?
Sally, anything on your end we should know about?
No.
Okay. We've got some minutes to go through. Why don't we start with
We do.
3/24/15 and give folks a few minutes to review those.
Question?
Sure.
Since these are all from prior to my time, I
I would suggest you abstain.
Just abstain, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. This is an update. I put this in their packet, so we'll talk about this later, but this is just a estimate.
Yes, thanks, Wade. Yes, she called me today. I couldn't bear to listen to the rest of the... I knew exactly. I listened to the message, like, thanks, Ellie.
Are we all set on 3/24?
Yep, I'd like to make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye?
I,
I abstain.
Okay. Give folks, we get the 4/14 minutes, give folks a chance to review those. Actually, we can skip these, because I wasn't present, and John wasn't on board, so we don't have a quorum for this one. Sorry. Can I vote anyway?
you need a quorum for minutes? Okay. Yeah, you need a quorum for the
Yeah.
minutes.
All right, all my hard work.
No, but you did a great job with all your hard work. Very good job.
Gino
right.
Mayfield.
Now, if Gino shows up, we can go back to him. 4/28, we'll give folks. And Bill and I were all there.
Right, and
John was
Bill and
active
I,
campaigning at that time, so.
we're on the hot seat.
Kim Jong-il.
Here comes Gino.
Well, this is quiet. What's going on with you guys?
It's not quiet anymore, Gino.
Make noise. I'm a quiet person.
We're reviewing minutes, Gino.
Balanced,
We're on the 4/28 minutes in your
Very
packet,
timid.
and we're gonna go back to the 4/14 ones, because I wasn't there and John wasn't on board yet, so we needed you.
We need you,
And you were
Gino.
late.
I'm sorry, I just came from Lynn. It took me an hour and a half to get here, a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
All right,
4/28.
okay. I got three
Those
of
are already
We're on
done.
428 right now still, correct?
You
Yes.
lost your
Okay.
chance to voice your opinion on
this.
those.
Don't get excited. 428.
428.
Okay. Give me 2 minutes.
So Bill, in those minutes, it may have mentioned, you had said something about something you could put on compost piles. I did look into that, and one of the things they do put on compost piles to reduce the odor sometimes is lime. But they have to be careful with it because it'll change the pH too much and it won't work. So it's kind of under, when there's a serious issue, they put lime on it, but it's an infrequent solution, is what I've been told.
Still kind of in the baby stages, they haven't figured out the right balance or what?
Well, I mean, lime will change the pH quite a bit, and that'll change how well it cooks, basically.
Yeah.
So it'll kill some bacteria and some odor and that sort of thing, but it can mess up the balance of things as well. So
Yep.
they use it sparingly, is what I've been told. All right, are we done? And do I have any discussion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, oh, sorry.
Nope, go ahead. Yep.
Make a motion to accept the minutes for 4/28/15.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
I'm still a little bit, a bit rushing on doing it.
Sorry,
Okay.
Gino.
I abstain.
And as always, ready to make a motion. She always finds little problems with that.
She hasn't today.
Tell Dave.
No, I don't have my
Yeah,
own
Always on her
today.
game, no.
Gino, it's because I read them ahead of time.
That's good, Andy, that's good. I like Bill. He's always like that Bill. Okay, all set.
Say aye, Gino.
I say aye.
Okay. All right, let's go back over the 414 one, Gino. We need that for you because only you, Bill, and Ann were present, so we're going to pass those. Yeah, okay. I don't think you need to be present to see it. Yep. No, I can see that as a new word.
Want me to make a motion? All right.
I think John has a,
So just a minor thing, in the, under the Bennett Orchards nitrogen loading plan, a motion was made by Ann Laurie to accept the nitrogen aggregation plan as, I believe that's a typo.
Bum minute.
I believe that-
somebody does read
I
them.
usually pick up the typos.
Well, I wasn't
Good
here
job.
for this one, so
Good
I didn't
job,
have,
John.
I didn't have steak.
Yeah, no, you can always fix
he's got
grammar.
that objectivity. So it doesn't-
That's what I thought about it at the time.
I was also in QA and regulatory documents this week.
Yeah.
So you can
All
put
right.
in on stuff like that.
It's on task. We appreciate it.
Funny that spell check didn't pick that up.
In what world is permitted a word?
I think we can find use for that word, but. Any other amendments?
I think it's fine.
Motion again?
Next, make a motion to accept the minutes for 4/14/15.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
I abstain.
Sorry, Gino.
I like to, Bill, I love you, baby. You always make that comment, I like that.
All right. Thank you, Shelley, for working on these minutes.
Thanks, Jim.
Getting
Lot
closer
of
to being
work.
caught up.
A lot of work.
Gino's still doing it.
Okay. Alrighty. Little hot in the field today, huh? Were you out in the field?
A lot hot in the field, yes. Yeah, I didn't get your message till almost 11 o'clock, and by then, I had done everything I was doing out in the field, so.
No, no worries. You have to be out tomorrow too. It's gonna be really hot tomorrow.
Yep. the next day.
Sounds like a good day to be beach sampling.
Yeah, there you go. You could do beach
We have
sampling,
one person
Jim.
that does all the beaches on one day, so
Okay, aye.
Okay, there you go.
I do them in May and early June when it's still
When
cold.
you get a break through the ice.
See, now you gotta
and that's
switch it, and switch it and do it in the.
Okay,
hot
thank
day.
you, thank you, good job on the minutes, thanks. Any correspondence?
No, not really.
Oh, I have something. We now have West Nile positive mosquitoes in Massachusetts. We used to get the Central Massachusetts Mosquito Control Project. I know they come in and to you and you just say that we get them, whatever. And I'm not sure that they have documented it, but Department of Public Health has documented that.
They take the mosquito samples and DPH analyzes them.
Yeah.
Not necessarily though,
You
right?
know, I haven't
Yeah.
seen many
So-
mosquitoes, you know what I see? The little fly.
Beckett.
You ever seen
Is that
that?
the western
Flies,
part of the
yeah.
state?
I don't know where it was.
It was at the western part of the state.
Oh, okay, it was out in Beckett.
Yeah,
Some-
I
yeah.
get, yeah,
So,
I
at any
get the
rate-
emails, but unless it's sort of,
So.
So the way it works
So-
is the
Radius
the
of
mosquito
posts
projects
on the
take the
website.
mosquito samples and they send them to
To the lab.
DPH at the lab, the state lab in Jamaica Plain,
Yes,
and then they report them out. And a lot
Yes.
of times the projects will pick them up, report them as well.
yes. So that's my report, is I got that report in my inbox, I'm reporting it to you.
I'm more concerned with Triple E than West Nile, frankly. So, I say for every case of West Nile that we pick up, there's 300 people who have it that they never do pick up. So. Permits, I think there's something going around.
Yes,
All right, while that happens, what is a single component permit endorsement?
Jim?
So, we're getting, when you, installation of septic system, they'll do a Title V inspection, transfer of property. They'll sometimes find that a distribution box or a septic tank is not, it's corroded or otherwise needs to be either repaired or replaced. So we call it a single component replacement because it's not the leach field itself, it's just a component before then. So what we're looking to do possibly is, if it's the board's pleasure to allow me to sign those permits outside of the meeting. They're not whole systems. What we're seeing is Title V inspections being done very close to the time of closings still. And then all of a sudden everyone's scrambled to get a permit for the D-box or the septic tank that they need to install.
And it's simply a component of an approved system. It's not changing the system at all or any of the design or anything like
No.
that. Personally, I feel pretty comfortable with that. How do other board members feel?
I agree.
I trust you, Jim.
So just a question, if one of those components is not
Sorry.
functional, how can you tell that
Got
the
my
rest of
pen.
it would be in compliance? Or is this just sort of a step one process?
So generally what happens is the Title V inspection report comes in first.
Okay,
And then so we'll have a sense.
so
of
you'll
how
have
much-
the
Signing
perk
permit
and everything, okay, okay.
Typically, we won't issue a permit for one of those
Essentially, if one
things
component's
unless we have a
broken,
Title V inspection,
he can
or
sign
unless
off on
we've looked
replacing
at the
that
component.
Yeah.
Occasionally, somebody wants to try to do the replacement.
No
of the
design, no new
Title V,
system,
get
just
passing
one
Title
component
V.
system.
I insist on looking at the component first, because especially a D-box contains an awful lot of information about how the system was operating. And if they just pull it out, you've lost all that information.
Okay, okay, all right, then that sounds reasonable.
I'm comfortable with that. Gino,
Yeah,
Um,
I'm very comfortable.
do we need a motion on this, or?
Jim is a very
It should be
good,
approved, just so that.
Yeah, okay.
Jim is a very good inspector. I'll make a motion that Jim can make the judgment call and inspect and
Approve.
approve. Inspect and approve.
Sign
Single
permits.
component.
Sign
Sign
permit.
permits for one piece of system components that are in failure or disarray.
We have a second? Gino? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Aye.
So I think Shelley was a little upset I called a meeting tonight, but, because we didn't have much, but I really do want to catch up on what's happening on 1115 Taylor Street.
Okay.
It kind of attracts people to the property.
So 1115 Taylor Street, can we sort of get an update? Because there's a lot happened since the board last took action, and we had difficulty talking about it because it wasn't on the agenda last time.
Yes.
Jim, I know you've had some action on this. What have you been doing? I know.
So what I did was, in accordance with town council's letter, I phoned Mr. Ernestly to try to gain access to do a reinspection of the property. He asked me to put it in writing, which I did. Sent it to the property address that the assessors have. Told him that if I didn't hear back from him by a certain date, then I would be pursuing a search warrant. I went and got the paperwork from the Littleton Police Department to do that, and was it Friday? He called I think, Monday morning, actually, I think I spoke to him. And he essentially told me that he doesn't have security interest in the property, so he couldn't grant me the permission to do the inspection. I did mention that the town still shows him as the owner of the property, and I thought that he could. We ended the phone call, he told me that I really should be talking to Bank of America or Green Tree. But he was willing to have me come back and inspect to show that there are no gas heaters in the basement. That much he could arrange.
Okay, so we're moving forward with basically the search warrant.
So what I have is the paperwork. What happens, you have to get out of the police department and they type up the actual document so they can take it down to the court and have it. So I think, I don't know, did you just have a copy or did all the board members get copies of
Yeah.
We all
the
have.
affidavit of?
Affidavit, oh, okay.
So that's just a piece of it. So the whole rest of the document is this here. And that's just, you have to provide an affidavit for why you're asking for the search
Is he gonna
warrant.
go to court?
I have to go to the, I'm
No,
gonna try
is he
to,
gonna go to court to find it?
I don't know.
But based on what Jim said, he's saying he doesn't have the authority to do this anyhow. Somehow I missed this, but that's okay.
So I sent it to Shelley and Town Council, just to make sure that I haven't misquoted anything in there. I think I have all the dates right, it's all from all the documents that we have.
Okay.
So I will go this week.
And the purpose of this, again, was we had determined that we basically had followed due process and the procedures on basically the demolition of the house, but we still had the concern with the personal property and such.
Well,
Is
I think
that
it was
correct?
twofold. One was to be able to do the inspection for the personal property.
Right.
And the second part is to make sure that, in fact, after the year's period of time, he hasn't made any
Those
corrections
conditions still
that has
exist.
changed our, or your
Yeah.
condemnation order.
Yep, so we could
Okay.
do
But
both
that's
at
my
the same
understanding,
time.
reading Tom's letter.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. So, and Bill, I think you've been involved in some discussions with the FinCom and the Selectmen, and I know when we originally voted to demolish this, to move forward with demolition of this property, there was discussion of it going to the planning board. That now, I guess, is up in the air. There are several potential paths forward. Not the planning board, town meeting, I'm sorry.
Right. Reserve transfer was approved by the Finance Committee to accommodate the demolition. But we have since found out from town council that there is no guarantee any money will be gotten back from the town or to the town for the demolition.
How much was reserved?
Up to $67,000. But because of the situation with Green Tree, there's a chance the town wouldn't get the money back. So, based on that, it was suggested that go to town meeting and let the voters decide whether or not they want to put that amount of money to risk or at risk. I've received 3 written quotes for doing it, and the range is very broad. But if you take the 3 and average them out, it falls within that amount of money.
And that would include the personal property removal as well?
There was no separation of personal property. The estimates were given based on the fact that the structure is probably 60% full of various items, just from looking in the windows. So the only separation of personal property right now basically is what's out in the yard that falls under the public nuisance.
Right, that's what I mean, because that,
So the public nuisance part of it, you know, we could probably take care of cleaning that up if we wanted to do it piecemeal. But based on what town council said, it's, you know, there's no guarantee the town will get their money back. So maybe as a last resort, we can go to town meeting or special town meeting in the fall and see if the taxpayers want to spend that kind of money to remove everything and clean it up.
so as I understand it, the issue at hand is that it's not the property the lien would be put on, but it would be put against Mr. Ernest's
Correct.
holdings. So
Because
if he were not able to pay it, we might not recover that money versus a lien on the building, which is presumably at time of sale, we would be able to recover.
The lien, a lien for taxes is different than a lien for demolition. And that's why any money that the town is looking to get back from demolition, there's a 2-year waiting period before it becomes part of the tax rolls. And at that point in time, the municipality basically goes to the head of the class when it comes to getting money back that is owed anybody.
But the taxes would be against Mr. Ernest himself versus attached to the property.
Correct.
So after 2 years, presuming there wasn't some resolve or change in ownership of the property, it will become the liability of Mr. Ernest versus the property, and we may not be able to recover that if he never gets.
Correct.
Okay. So what are our next steps? Are we moving forward with that assumption, or does the town council still need to research this, or where do we stand with it?
My understanding is that foreclosure proceedings have started. How long they'll take, I have no idea. But probably to simplify the situation, we ought to sit back and wait until the foreclosure takes place, and then deal with the, with Green Tree.
That can take, depending, that could take a year plus.
Under these circumstances, I would be shocked if it took that long.
So I think we can still move forward with one, is pursuant to Jim's search warrant, establishing the grounds to continue with our demolition order, or reaffirming the grounds, rather, and establishing the grounds for a future order or declaration of a nuisance. So we're lined up to do this. And hopefully some of this will be resolved, and maybe perhaps once we resolve that and get Jim's report back, we can decide how we want to move forward, whether we want to go forward with town meeting, which frankly I'm a bit more comfortable anyway, just because it's another level of due process. We don't have to do that, I know, but doesn't, just because we can do something doesn't mean we should. And perhaps at that point, the foreclosure will resolve itself or not, and we'll be stuck. But I think the board, we've come this far, I think we need to pursue this. Every inch we can go, we should go.
Well, I agree with what you just said as far as another level of due process. We've gone through approximately 30 years of levels of due process, and you know, I don't argue with what you said. It is another level of due process. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that the nuisance part of it is separate from the condemnation. The condemnation order is for the structure, period.
Understood.
All the nuisance stuff is outside. Now, if in fact we go through, you know, another level of due process and wait until a special town meeting, I think at the very least, in the meantime, since he has not followed his order of securing the property, that we should pursue perhaps having him put a fence around the entire lot. And if that doesn't happen with Mr. Ernest, certainly after the foreclosure takes place, I think some communication should be made with Green Tree to let them know that, you know, it needs to be secured. It's been going on for so long, it's just making a joke of the laws as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I think we need to continue to be diligent and move ahead. I think we all know the difference between the nuisance versus the structure issue. But at the same time, if we're going to deal with one and we're bringing in dumpsters and that sort of thing, I think it makes sense to deal with them all at the same time, because they're both public health issues and they both are nuisances to the neighbors. So if we're going to deal with one, we should deal with the other at the same time, where we can. I'm not suggesting we step back from this. I think we need to keep moving forward. And I'm perfectly willing to go and argue this at town meeting if that's what it takes. And if we get shut down, we get shut down, then we can explore fences or just looking at the nuisance thing to make it at least less of a nuisance and less of an issue than the building and the stuff outside poses.
What would be the harm in pursuing both the demolition and the nuisance at the same time, understanding that we're still trying to figure out how to pay for the demolition piece? Jim, how long does it take to
Well,
go through that
There
process?
isn't any harm there. I think that's the best way to go.
That's what we're proposing.
Yeah.
We're proposing to deal with them both.
So the inspection is
Yeah.
both to verify that the condemnation, for demolition is still valid because the repairs haven't been made, and to be able to cite
Right.
nuisance on the property because of all the materials.
All right, I thought you wanted to wait on.
No, I
and
want to move
just-
forward with both as
and
best
pursue.
we can. No, if it comes to a situation where we're hung up on the demolition, I think at that point, we can still pursue the nuisance, and as Bill said, securing the property with a
Yeah.
fence. But I still say we move forward. I mean, we've got some
Okay, okay.
some questions, some minor roadblocks in a way, but I think we ought to pursue both the nuisance and the demolition.
That's what I agree with. I just thought you had said earlier you wanted to just kind of hold back on the demolition
Absolutely
piece.
not. I think we need to
Okay.
move forward. I do think,
Okay.
what I'm arguing for, though, or suggesting, or asking, really, is it seems like if the Finance Committee has given us this money, we don't necessarily have to go to town meeting. Doesn't mean we can't.
Right.
So
agree.
the question I have is, should we do that anyway? It's a decent chunk of money. It's a teacher salary. And I'm not answering this, I'm not sure. I wanted to bring it up for discussion. And, this is probably one of the most invasive things that the government can do, is come in and tear apart somebody's home. I think it's warranted in this case. I think he's been getting every chance to avoid it. But we can decide this as a 5-member elected board, and we can do that. But the question is, should we take it further and bring it to the community? So I just pose that question because we do have that option. And I don't know the answer. I'm not sure where I am on this, but I wanted to bring it up for discussion because right now I'm a little bit torn on it.
So I would say I'm in favor of doing it, when I think it's little risk. Because people have asked about properties and what do we do when it comes to nuisance or hazardous properties that may be around town. So I think I think there's little risk. If the concern is there's a risk that we wouldn't get it approved because of the dollar amount, frankly, I think we argue it, that there's little risk that would get voted down. Honestly, I think it would get approved, and I personally think it's the right thing to do, because of the amount of money, but I still think it'll pass.
But if the money is being issued, what's the problem? If we go against the problem, the attorney will let us know. We let the attorney know that we proceed. You get the money, whether the town is gonna get the money back or not. If the town decide, well, we can't afford it, if you go to the town meeting and say, oh, well, we can't afford it, to give this money for a demolition, what are you gonna do then? If we get the money now, use it.
Another thing that bothers me in relation to this that hasn't been talked about is, this has been going on
A long time.
forever. And I honestly am sitting here having the feeling that if we can't deal with this after, it's gotta be 25 or 30 years, then how can we move on to similar situations in town that aren't nearly as bad? Because I look at it as, so we're gonna take another piece of property, look at it, and because, and I hate to say this, but it's true, because of most of the orders that we give don't have enough bite in them to get a response from somebody who wants to push back. So how can we move on to something else that doesn't come anywhere near what this is if we can't handle this one?
So I can't, obviously.
I want to see some
Yeah.
sort of an end positive result
So
from this.
I don't disagree with you, and I can't, obviously, I can't speak to the previous 30 years, right? So, and why it's taken this long and the ins and outs, other than a property owner doing his best.
Because we
Having-
went through the process.
But having said all that, as I look at the dates on these communications, how clear is the finance committee on this concern that the town might not get their money back because of the lien? Because your email to Shelley about the FinCom committee is dated July 15th, and these series of emails from Tom, from Keith, are July 20th to 28th. So how clear, maybe, and so the FinCom said, here's the money.
Yeah.
But how clear are they that they're at risk, that the town's at risk of not getting the money back? Right? So I think there's a bit of diligence on that, if they're not clear of that.
Tom mentions in his email that there isn't a lot of case law to reference in
Right.
this. And I can remember, I think I said to Shelley, I can't believe that all these years, something like this has never come up, so that they can't go back and look at it. But that being said, a couple of the statements in his email say most likely or likely, and so there's some ambiguity there as to, is it this way or is it not this way?
That's my point exactly, and is the
And-
FinCom, is the FinCom, did they understand that that's a possibility?
I think that's the reason why we're having this discussion right now, because when we initially went to the FinCom, I think they were pretty comfortable in the fact that
That the money
the
was.
lien would be put in place.
Right.
But now we find out that may not be the case.
So the
Because
FinCom
if the lien is put against Mr. Ernest, the owner, and then the property is foreclosed on, like he said, most likely that lien will dissolve,
Right.
disappear.
Right.
So Bill, to clarify, the FinCom did or did not understand that?
I can't speak for them.
Based
I
on
do
the
think we need
dates,
to clarify that they understood that
Yeah.
before they grant, to make sure they
'Cause
still
they,
support.
right, they
that.
may have made their decision based on the fact like, oh, it's clear we'll get, the town will get the money back. So I think there's some ambiguity there that needs to get tightened up.
So I do think we need to go back to the FinCom and say, look, there is a chance we want, and explain why we might not get this money back.
Well, if they've been, I don't know, I'm sure that they're aware of these emails. There's no doubt in my mind.
Well, from Tom Harrington's, it's-
Not going to FinCom.
so it says here, FinCom's approval was conditioned upon the town's lien on the property being first in place, which Bonnie's references below so indicate.
And that doesn't apply to a lien for demolition. Am I
Right. And
correct?
Bonnie wrote this on July 15th. It seemed like some of the questions on the lien came up subsequent to this.
But Tom seems to have a,
If it was a lien for taxes, it's different.
Right. No, so that I
So
understand.
it says here under Bonnie's email, it says the demolition lien is just collected as other liens are, as such as the town is in first position to collect. But what if I understand from you is after 2 years, that demolition lien becomes a tax.
Correct.
And
And
then-
then, and only then, does the town step to the head of the class.
Right. There's a very strict schedule, though, to keep to. Demolition lien expires 2 years from October 1st date following the filing. In order to perfect the lien, we must make sure we do this in a timely tax taking on any unpaid bills.
Did he mention that the bank will allow him to take $300,000, something like that? I mean, if he has the money, why doesn't he pay for it?
I'm not sure we can count on that statement, this fact.
Yeah, no, I,
And
so,
if he wants to build another building, if he's got the money, he can do that. He's got the foundation.
well,
It's
that, I
not
mean,
all
so,
you.
so at the last meeting, that's partly what he was arguing, was that he had financing in place to take care of this, and he had a contractor,
See?
which is a smokescreen, that's not
No,
happening.
no, I know, I'm saying, if we, you know.
I don't think we can count on that statement,
Right, but I'm
Gino.
saying that's what he says, you know what I mean?
Well, I
don't think we can
understand,
count on
yeah.
that statement. The other thing I want to clarify is, I mean, Tom Harrington said, last meeting, I got the sense that the board wanted to give Mr. Ernest a few months to rectify the problem. I don't think we gave that impression at all. What I said was, this is going to take some time, and you'll have an opportunity during that process, but I want to move full steam ahead.
Yeah.
I think that will
Yeah,
give
I-
him several months still. If he
Yeah, yeah.
comes up with that 350 and can change the
Yeah.
conditions, I'll honor that, but I don't want to give him more months. I want to move forward full steam ahead.
Right, let him.
But inherent within that process is he'll have plenty of time to fix it if that
Right.
$350,000 check
That's
comes
right.
through.
You gotta, like Billy said, you gotta make the move and then see what his reaction would be.
So we've got Jim working on this, on the search warrant to both support our order of demolition and to support a future order of nuisance for the personal property on the back. We have the FinCom who has designated sufficient money, I think, to achieve both of those. I do think that it's incumbent upon us to make sure that they understand these questions of the lien. It's not clear to me in the emails exchanges what came first, or whether they understood that we might not get this money back.
I want to make a comment about the personal property. If the town moves forward and he is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but if he is notified that the building is going to be demolished, I believe he has a 24-hour period to remove any personal belongings.
No, I'd have to find that.
So the question is, we have personal property in the building, which I'm sure he'll have an opportunity to remove, but we have a lot of personal property outside of the building, which is what the nuisance is to address. So we have money to go in and demolish, we've ordered it demolished, but we could have this nice flat spot in the middle of a lot of junk lying around it. And we need to address both, which is what the second order of nuisance is supposed to address.
Well, when the proposal was made to the Finance Committee for the reserve fund transfer, it was written as such that the building would be demolished and removed, and the property cleaned up. So it was all encompassing.
So the money's there, but I don't think our order of demolition necessarily covers all the stuff that's in the yard.
Yes, it does. Is the prices that I,
Oh, no. What
Without-
you're saying is the legal order doesn't include it. Well, we're working on that.
oh, okay.
That's the second part. That's the nuisance stuff, there's the building and all the stuff in it, and then there's all the stuff in the yard. The demolition covers the building and all the stuff in it. We need to move forward to completely clear this property and achieve what we want to. We need to also write this nuisance order to get the stuff in the yard. And he'll have the opportunity in both cases to remove it. I hope he removes all of it, but I don't think we can count on that. And my suspicion is there'll be a lot left behind, even with that opportunity for him to do it, that we still want to remove from that property. And that's what the second order is, and that's part of what the search warrant's for.
You can't get anything out in 24 hours either. Bill, you
Well,
cannot get
it
everything
may be
out
that
in
we can go forward with the nuisance issue piece, and at the same time do the inspection for the demolition with a pause on, with the money piece, getting that all cleared up from FinCom.
Well, I think we can do this
You know.
simultaneously.
Yeah, it'll happen in
Yeah.
parallel. I don't think it has to happen in series. It'll happen in parallel, but I think
That's what I
that
mean,
does
it'll be in
need to.
parallel, but we can
Yeah.
check it with FinCom.
But I think we can.
In the meantime, we can check with FinCom, that's my point.
So let's check with FinCom, Jim can make sure they're clear on it. If they're clear on it and they say, yeah, we know we might not get it back, and we know the process for trying to get it back, then I think we can move on from there.
I would like to make a motion, and if this is out of line, Shelley or anybody, please stop me. But I would like to make a motion that if in fact foreclosure takes place prior to fall town meeting, I would like to make a motion that the Board of Health require, if we can legally do it, the foreclosure holder, which would be Green Tree, require them to put a fence around the entire property.
at their expense.
Well, absolutely, at their expense, yeah. Because of the risk that
I think a fence is a fine idea. I'm not
Yes.
sure we need to do it now, but I think if this is delayed, I think if this looks like it's gonna get delayed past the fall, I think we ought to do that right away.
absolutely,
I don't know if we need a motion now, but I would support that motion in the.
if I can do that, I would like to put that as a motion,
I like the second.
that,
So discussion, we have a motion and a second. The only thing I'd say is, there are a bunch of different scenarios where we might want to make somebody put a fence up. It might not just be a disclosure. I mean, if this isn't moving forward quickly enough, I think we ought to order Mr. Ernesti to do it.
well, Mr. Ernest has made it clear he has no money. So I don't think the odds are too good. Now, I think the only way a fence is gonna be put around that property is, one, we take a portion of the money that the Finance Committee has appropriated for this and do it, and, take a chance on getting that small amount of money back, or require Green Tree, the company that's proceeding with the foreclosure, require them to do it.
They have a legal issue putting up a fence on property down on.
So that was the question, so,
Oh, the town would?
right, so the point I was gonna make was it, or question asked, is should we get opinion of our town council on whether there's anything we could do about that?
Yeah, I suspect that if Green Tree takes it over, they'll do something, I don't know what. I mean, Bank of America was gonna do something this spring until Mr. Earnesty somehow
Nothing
called them
happened.
and said, no, I own the property, don't secure it. It's like, it was almost like within days of the call I had with the company called Asset Management or something like that out of Texas. They were getting ready to secure it and do some stuff there. And he called the next day and they said, oh, the owner called us, said he owns it, don't touch it. It's like, really?
Yeah, I just wonder if Littleton as a town has a legal right to put a fence up on a property.
Well, Jim, that's a good point, and
I-
and I guess my point would be, if the Board of Health has condemned the property and it has been deemed a public nuisance, I have a hard time not thinking
yeah,
that
so-
the town can be held liable
So
if they don't protect.
Yeah, so Bill, I see,
People
I
from
see
that,
your
yeah,
logic, and I agree with your logic, I'm just not a lawyer.
No,
And
neither
so-
am I.
and So
And-
that's why I'm
and-
saying we ought to get an opinion on
And-
that, and if the opinion is, yeah, go do it, then fine. Although I will say, and it's been a while since I've gotten a quote for a fence, but a 6-foot privacy fence put up by a contractor is gonna cost $10,000, depending
And
on the
that's,
size of the
That's a
lot.
decent
that's
sized
why
Yeah.
that's part of the reason why I would, made the motion, and I'd like to, see that the foreclosure company has to do that, because if the property is sitting there, it's not costing anybody any money, they're not gonna do anything. But if it's costing them money, it gives a little bit, and I mean a little bit of incentive to say, why don't we do something about this?
Before we vote on this, can we get some
Some
opinion on,
information from the attorney.
from Tom to see if this is something we
Well, we've already gotten an opinion on that,
On the fence?
on being liable for
Right.
anybody going on the property, which would be the reason for the fence.
Right.
And
But it's
it
still
was,
privately
we're not
owned.
liable because we don't
Still
own
a
the
privately
property.
owned piece of property, right?
We don't own the property, so
Right.
we're not liable.
Right.
And
So from my perspective, I would like to get town council's opinion on what our options are on securing it. I fully support securing it. I don't know if we need to make the motion now, but it may not hurt. I think we can wait and see the foreclosure. We meet every 2 weeks. I still want this to distract us from our end goal, which is to fix this situation through the demolition and cleanup of the nuisance. So this is an alternative plan or an interim plan, but I still would like to focus on, let's finish this and let's address the issues there.
I agree.
Once we give the order for him to clean up his personal effects on the outside, he's got 7 days to do so. So that's the time frame.
Okay,
Okay?
that's fine. I mean, another 7 days.
Well, I just read it from this. That's where I got it
I thought it
from.
was 48 hours or something like that.
Well,
7 days is more
no,
reasonable. I'm fine with
it's-
7 days.
It's 24 hours for certain issues, it's
Right. So
7 days for other issues.
another 7 days in this situation isn't gonna make a
Yeah.
big deal, and I think, given the amount of property, he needs at least 7 days to get rid of it
He
anyway.
probably will, yeah.
So, any more discussion? We have a motion and a second. Do we have any more discussion?
What are the rules? Can we amend the motion?
Absolutely.
If he allows
Can we
us.
restate the motion, please? I think so much discussion has happened that, what are we motioning exactly?
My motion was to, if nothing happens as far as going ahead with demolition, if the foreclosure takes place, my motion is that the Board of Health require the company that foreclosed on the property, which would be Green Tree, to put a fence around the property because of its
Right, vulnerability.
Potential risk. to
Potential
public-
risk.
because of its
Hazard.
designation as a public nuisance.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, very good.
So the way Robert's rules work, I think, John, you can offer a friendly amendment to the motion. If Bill accepts it, that's fine. If he doesn't, we take a vote. So-
Okay. All right, well, I would like to amend that we, pending review and input from town council.
That's fine. I don't have any problem with that.
That's good.
Okay. Any more discussion? So Gino, do you second it with that?
I second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So to recap, Jim's moving forward with ensuring the conditions there are still supportive of demolition, as well as assessing conditions for a nuisance order for the outside. We're going to speak to the FinCom. How do you want to do that, Shelley, to make sure they understand the ramifications of potentially not being able to recover this money, and that they're still comfortable with that? Is that an internal discussion, or should Bill or I do this, or?
I mean, Bill forwarded this to me, so this is the first time I saw this email. So I don't
Chairs the
know.
Finance Committee?
Yeah, Bill forwarded it to me. I wasn't on this.
No, who chairs the Finance
I
Committee?
don't know.
Bill, do you know?
Oh, yeah, I know who it is. Yeah. Can't think.
Young lady, I don't know, her
Um,
name. I can't remember.
Sorry, the name slips me.
Okay, well, I'm happy to talk to the chair of the
Yeah.
Finance Committee and make sure they're comfortable with this and establish some communication between all of us.
I'll
through you.
forward this to you tomorrow, and
Okay.
then, I'll find out who the chair of the finance committee is
Okay,
and just copy.
so I'll talk to the chair, and if they say, look, yeah, we knew about that, I'll bring that back to this group so we have some. If they didn't, we'll talk with Shelley and the Finance Committee and figure out the best way to make sure everybody's on board and understanding the situation. Because I would hate, or it sounds like you did your best to let them know, but I'd hate to get down the road and say, well, we thought we were getting this money back.
Right.
So-
that kind. Can I ask a clarification question? Is this true? It was not voted on to demolish at that last meeting? I missed that meeting, the end of June.
Yeah, that's a good,
Because I think we have to roll forward with more.
Shall-
We've got to vote that we want to, in fact,
Shelley, I thought we
Did
made a
we-
motion to move forward with demolishing the building.
What do we, which,
I'm just questioning
So
Tom
the-
Harrington's, Tom
The,
Harrington's,
Monday, July 20th, 2015.
didn't that already get
Hello,
voted?
Keith, after we inspect, the Board of Health will need to vote to demolish some or all of the structure. So they'll have the ability to ask for the money to
We
demolish.
voted on that.
Can you clarify that? You may not have it in front of you now, but maybe for the next meeting, can we clarify? I thought we did vote to demolish, not just look for the money.
That's what I thought too. But that was just from talking with people.
Is everybody else's
Because
recollection
that-
that we actually took a vote to demolish?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought so
Okay,
too.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
But, okay, so this is this needs to be
Well, we need to clarify what the motion was and what we,
revisit that with Keith.
in the
so
minute,
he
so
knows.
Yeah.
whatever it says on the record is what we did.
Mhm.
For what it's worth.
you
that-
made a motion to fund the demolition.
To review and search out a funding source
Can
for
you read the
it.
motion?
Whereas the property at 11 to 15 Taylor Street was declared uninhabitable by the Board of Health on March 27th, and whereas the owner has not secured the property as required by law, and whereas the owner has done nothing in 3 years to make the property habitable, and whereas the town of Littleton has the right to demolish said property, I would like to make a motion that the Board of Health requests the selectmen to place on the warrant for special town meeting in fall an appropriation of $35,000 to fund the demolition and cleanup of the property. So that was Bill's motion.
Okay.
Okay, so we need to vote.
So I think, why don't we do this? I think we do need to put a motion forward to actually order the demolition of the property. I think we should wait till after Jim finishes his inspection pursuant to the search warrant.
So if you read Tom's letter of July 9th, he has kind of a list of steps there. The first one's perform an inspection of the property. This is the second page of the letter.
Where is it?
Third page of the letter, for dwelling is not been brought.
Oh, we don't have that
We don't
letter.
have that
We
one
don't
in
have
front of
that
us.
letter.
We had it at some
Yeah.
point, but it's not.
Okay.
Okay, he says if the dwelling has not been brought into compliance with the code, issue an order for the destruction of the dwelling and serve such order upon the owner and mortgagee.
Right.
So
So
that's
he
where.
has-
So that's our next step after you,
He
assuming
does the inspection.
it's not all pristine inside when you do your reinspection.
Stranger things have happened.
For what it's worth, the chair of the FinCom is Betsy Bowling.
Okay.
Betsy Bowling, yeah.
All right, well, I'll have a conversation with her and relay what we discussed tonight, and she may feel comfortable saying, yes, we understand, or we may need to go back and clarify and make sure they understand the potential uncertainties in recovering that funds. Anything else?
Yeah, I want to go on the inspection with Jim when he goes out to No. I need my gas mask.
I don't even want to drive by that property much.
I know.
Is there an issue?
I'd like to have Roland there,
Yeah, I think Roland should go.
I'll bring them.
but, okay.
Well, I'd like to go along just so I can speak knowledgeably about it when we go to, if and when we go to town meeting on this. But don't arrange it around my schedule. I would suggest Ann's either. I think you need to set the date that works for you and Roland. If we can make it, we will. And if you could inform us through Shelley, that would be appreciated. Bill, do you want to attend as well?
Yes.
Yeah, Bill and I want to go.
But my suggestion, find a date and time that works for you and Roland, and we'll, if we can't make it, we can't make it. But it's critical that you and Roland go there.
Yep.
So. Any other business?
Yep, just a betterment agreement for 20 Maplehurst to be signed. So everybody just needs to sign that. I sent out letters to the next 3 people on the list, so that was that little spreadsheet I gave you of Jim kind of gave estimated costs of what he thought those last 3 systems would be, so that brings it pretty close to the 300, so they got their letters, they were told that all has to be done and in the ground by December 31st in order to get the funds.
Great. Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'm sorry for the short meeting, but it's an hour we won't spend here next time.
No, don't apologize for a short meeting.
Well, we didn't have to have any meeting, but I did want to make sure everybody was on the same page on
Great.
this.
You see how fast I jumped on that second into, I didn't want to discuss that.